welcome back, Paulding Virtual Academy students. Today we're here for our next set of notes for PVA U.S. history. Today we're going to be covering the War of 1812 and beyond. So let's go ahead and let's get started with the information that you need to know. Now, what we're going to cover today is we're going to cover the reasons behind the War of 1812 and its results. So let's go ahead and kind of jump into the notes and into what you need to know. So first of all, what we want to start off with is understanding that once again in the early 1800s and late 1700s, France and England were once again at war. It's something that they had been pretty much consistently fighting each other for about 100 years. And this started to cause a lot of problems for us, since we did a lot of trading with both England and with France. And the problem was for us is that both England and France continued to violate American free trade, which means that France wouldn't let us trade with England, and England wouldn't let us trade with France. Of particular concern, however, was with what the British were doing. And what the British were doing is the British were doing something called impressing American merchants. What that means is this: they would stop American ships that were heading towards France, and they would stop them at sea, and they would board American ships and take American sailors off of our ships and force them or impress them into the British Navy to fight on British warships. And this was really troubling for us. Now, this became one of the primary reasons why we would eventually declare war against England in 1812. But it wasn't the only reason. There were two other ones that you do need to know besides the impressment of American sailors and merchantmen. Another reason for the war, was an economic recession that was affecting both the South and the West after 1808. In addition to this, President Madison, who was the president after Thomas Jefferson, believed that Britain wanted to eliminate the United States as an economic rival. And so all of those things combined, the recession, the impressment of American sailors, and the belief that Britain wanted to kind of destroy us economically, all led to us in 1812 having President Madison, ask Congress for a declaration of war against England. Now, when war was declared, patriotism surged, and we claimed that the War of 1812 was the Second American Revolution. But we were going to have some problems in this war. For instance, during this war, the United States had a really small navy, and we had a poorly trained army when this war began. And at the same time, Britain had a really well-trained army. They'd been fighting France for a decade. And during the war years between the end of 1812 and the beginning of 1815, it went really badly for us. For instance, the British attacked and burned our national capital at Washington, D.C. I mean, it was completely leveled. But despite this, Britain was never really fully in the war against us. They were more interested in fighting the French. We were kind of like a little fly, a little gnat that they were kind of swatting at. And they didn't really have the heart or the money or the time to really invest in fully kind of crushing us. And so during the war, really neither side is going to gain or lose a whole lot. And so finally, England decides in 1814 that, you know what, not really worth our time. And so they sign with us what is called the Treaty of Ghent that ends the war. Now, in the Treaty of Ghent, neither side is going to gain or lose territory. And basically, both sides get back whatever positions they had before the war, something you need to know for your quiz. However, the Treaty of Ghent is signed in Europe. And so they put the information on the treaty back on a boat and send it back over to America. But the thing is that it takes some time. It takes a few weeks for it to get back. And in the meantime, before the news arrived, the largest battle of the war is fought. That was called the Battle of New Orleans. And General Andrew Jackson, who you can see pictured in that painting right there with his sword kind of outstretched, emerges as a hero of the war. Now, this battle and our winning at this made a lot of us feel like we had actually won the war, even though we really hadn't. But this is going to lead to a couple important effects of the War of 1812 on the United States. Number one is that the United States was now a power that could rival any opponent, or at least we felt that we could. Number two, it led to a big rise in nationalism, a feeling that we were important. It's kind of like a feeling of patriotism. And number three, Great Britain and the United States would never engage in any dispute again, at least militarily. So, a few things to once again highlight from this video. Number one, know the three causes of the War of 1812. Know what impressments mean. Know that it was major economic causes that went into the war. Know that it didn't go very well for us. Do know that the Treaty of Ghent is going to end the war, but also not lead to any changes in territory on either side. And know these three important effects of the War of 1812 on America. Well, that's all our notes on this topic today. Until next time, have a fantastic day.